You're watching Hockey North. I'm your host, Karissa Donkin, and I'm super excited to be here because we've got a brand new PWHL season starting. This Friday, we've got Olympic hockey kicking off in 80 days, so that means we are back here on Hockey North for our third season. There's so much to talk about. We're going to be taking you inside the PWHL this season. We're also going to be taking you behind the decisions that are making Team Canada and the players you're going to see in February at the Olympics as well as the Paralympics after that. And our goal here is to take you in depth, take you behind the scenes of this game we love. And you're going to be hearing from some of the people at the heart of this game. So let's get it started. I'm very excited with who's going to be joining me this season. We can have a little drum roll here. It's Hailey Salvian with The Athletic as our analyst. Hello, Hailey. Happy to have you here.
Been drum rolling for myself.
You can drum roll anytime you want. You know what? I'm so excited. I'm so excited for us to do this, and we're going to have so much fun.
I know. It's nice to see you. Other than in the depths of the Ford Performance Center.
What are you most excited for as we get into Friday?
So I don't know if it's just recency bias because I was working on a Montreal Victoire preview, but I got myself so jazzed for the Abby Rock experience in Montreal. That is my current preseason hyperfixation. Sure, I could have had some bigger picture, I'm excited to see all these new rosters or expansion teams. No, it's just Abby Rock in Montreal. The idea of a player who was the most irritating American forward in women's hockey sliding onto Montreal's top line with Captain Canada is just the most strange, cool, chaotic thing that happened this offseason. And I'm just so excited to see how that works out. I think Abby Rock is somebody who has not hit her ceiling in the PWHL yet, but we know she has so much more to give. And we are looking at a team and a player that could just be teeing up Marie-Philippe Poulin all season, scoring Michigan goals, fighting everyone. I'm so jazzed up and excited to see Abby Rock in Montreal and the Victoire specifically this season. What about you?
I had a bit of a jump scare when I saw her in a Victoire jersey for the first time. I was like, ooh, oh, whoa, what's going on? But it's going to be so cool. They're going to win every face-off this season. Yeah. So there's that. But honestly, I'm excited for having the PWHL in an Olympic year. I think that's going to be really cool. We've obviously never experienced this before. So we're going to see people, playing their way onto Team Canada, onto Team USA, maybe off of those teams as well. And I think obviously women's hockey has just gotten so much faster over the last few years. So yeah, give me all the PWHL hockey, give me all the best on best hockey. I'm here for it. With that being said, before we get to the Olympics, we're going to see about half the PWHL season being played. It was, a really long off season, like you said, but it was also pretty crazy in terms of player movement. So we're going to go through each team. We're going to walk you through who went where. It's been a lot. I actually, typed out all of these, this person went here, this person went there. Yeah. And it's
I have a goofy little spreadsheet. So
there's so many, half the league. We should have just, we should have actually just wrote down who didn't move. That probably would have been easier. Let's start with the Toronto Sceptres. Unreal in the power play last season, but unfortunately for them, deja vu in the playoffs as they come up against the Minnesota Frost once again and fall short. What do you expect from them this year?
I don't think Toronto is going to fall off completely. Will they be the second best team in the PWHL? Maybe not, but that probably has more to do with the fact that Montreal is going to be good again. Vancouver, Seattle, those are going to be good teams. We can get to them later. But I'm not expecting massive regression. I think we can expect some given the players that they lost. They lose a ton of offense from Hannah Miller, who was great on the power play, great with Daryl Watts last season. You lose Sarah Nurse, you lose a young player, Julia Gosling, Izzy Daniel. She was one of my favorites, even though she didn't really pop last season. I think she has a ton of promise. So you lose some of that eye-popping skill, so to speak. But the Sceptres still have Daryl Watts, who is the second most productive player all time in the PWHL behind Marie-Philippe Poulin. And they have two, in my opinion, by my calculus, two of the top 5 defenders in the sport. potentially playing on two different pairs. So on any given shift, you're either going to have Renata Fast, who for my money is the best defender in the world when we're looking at the complete package, coming out at you 25 minutes a game. Then the other 20 minutes, you're going to have Ella Shelton, who's a top 5D, great two-way impact. So I think the D depth is a real strength of this roster. There are some questions with new goaltenders. Elaine Chuli was great in relief of Anne-Renee Desbiens in Montreal, still maybe a little bit unproven as a number one or a 1A, 1B in the PWHL. But obviously the Sceptres believe that that's going to be an upgrade in the crease with Chuli and Reagan Kirk over Kristen Campbell. So I'm actually feeling quite optimistic about the Toronto Sceptres. I think it's devastating to lose somebody like Sarah Nurse and Hannah Miller, but this roster and this core is still pretty solid. And you're going to have a healthy Natalie Spooner, Blair Turnbull. Maggie Connors has looked unreal in camp. Like, they were doing 3-on-3 at the end of a scrimmage, and she went through everyone, bar down. I was like, okay, like she's got something this year. So there's, I think, a lot to like about the Sceptres.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, just about Ella Shelton, like that was an unreal ad. But I think for me, like I'm really interested to see what Natalie Spooner's season's going to look like after obviously coming back from that injury last season. I think she looked great at the rivalry series. I think she kind of looked like herself. We saw her, parked in front of the net again, as Natalie Spooner does. Yeah, what do you expect from her this season?
I think this is the first summer where Natalie Spooner has been healthy and just been able to train, because if we consider the fact that she was just coming back from like a postpartum, I don't want to call it injury, but like some complications from postpartum, like she had some stuff she needed to take a break from before the first PWHL season. Like, she was the leading scorer and one MVP and one player forward of the year. Like, she was the best player in the league, and she didn't even train all summer. So I'm really excited to see what like healthy 100% back at it Natalie Spooner is going to look like. I agree, Chris. I thought she looked good at rivalry. I thought her and Sarah Fillier looked good together specifically, which is maybe more of a Team Canada thing than the Toronto Sceptres. But I'm excited. I think Spooner is going to be a huge part of this Sceptres team, and being able to retain her this summer was great. Like, they obviously lucked into the fact that she was a free agent, so they didn't have to protect her, and then she just re-signed with the team. So I think having Spooner back and healthy is going to be great. And everyone around the team has said that there's like, she's back and there's a huge difference. Like, you can just tell that things are going to be different this year for Natalie Spooner in Toronto.
Let's talk about the Ottawa Charge. If we can just, go down the highway a little bit. Went to the Walter Cup finals. They had a lot of losses in free agency. Ashton Bell's a huge one. Danielle Serdachny, didn't really, I think, pop in her first season, but is someone who I think still has a ton of potential. Teresa Vanishova, the list goes on. And I think for me, Hailey, with Ottawa, I just don't feel like there's enough in this roster offensively. Like, I look at like who's going to score. You look at 2 out of 3 of their top scorers last season out the door with Vanishova and Cheyenne Darkangelo. Of course, Vanishova signed as a free agent with Vancouver, and then Darkangelo signed as a free agent with Montreal. And so they've got Emily Clark, of course, but we didn't see her at the rivalry series. I know she's still coming back from an injury. So, is she going to hit the ground running? Is it going to take her a little bit of time to find her form? Rory Gilday, I think, that's an exciting addition. I guess she plays that kind of heavy crash and bang style that, they like in Ottawa. But, no matter how good you are defensively, no matter how strong Gwyneth Phillips is in net as their number one, you still have to score goals. And I just don't really know who's going to do that in Ottawa. Of course, they brought in 2 Russian players who are a bit of a wild card. Haven't played against anybody from North America in the last 4 years because they haven't been at the World Championship. They haven't played internationally, Russia that is, since the last Olympics. So I don't really know what to expect from them. I mean, that they could end up being a bit of a slam dunk, or it could be a bit of a misfire. So I just I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough road for them to make it back to the playoffs, let alone to the finals again.
Yeah, I think you hit it when we're talking about the offense for Ottawa. They had scored among the fewest goals in the league last season with 71, and they lost 23 of those in just Teresa Venisheva and Cheyenne Darkangelo alone. And those were free agency losses, not expansion draft losses. And I think their blue line was impacted quite heavily. I thought Ashton Bell was one of their best players in the postseason. I thought she was great with Jocelyn the Rock. I know you protect Rania Savalainen because she's got size and two-way ability, but I actually was a little surprised. I thought they would have tried to keep Bell and the Rock together because they looked like, a legit top pair that could shut down the best of them, and they certainly did that well against Marie-Philippe Poulin in the first round. They're going to be interesting because I think Gwen Phillips is too good for Ottawa to be too bad, but I feel like this is going to be a lot of just slog it out, 2-1 wins, 1-0 losses, which is kind of what they already were last season at times. I know they randomly had games where they popped off for like 7 goals, but for the most part, I would say that the median was like a 2-1 or a 3-2 game for the Ottawa Charge, and they just lost a ton of their offense and some stuff from their blue line. So I think Ottawa is going to really need big steps in the right direction on offense from someone like a Gabby Hughes, Manon McMahon, Katerina Mirzova. Like, you hope she's healthy and can produce. So there's reasons to maybe feel optimism that there's going to be internal growth on offense for the Charge, but I just think this is difficult. It's a second straight year where they've struggled to retain and attract top talent. So when we're talking about the Russian forwards that Mike Hirschfeld drafted, Anna Shokina was kind of the main one that they were targeting. And I think that was very deliberate in the sense of like, we can't keep or sign any of these elite players, so we've got to try something. If it doesn't work, oh well, our forward group is what it is. If it does work, wow, I just pulled a rabbit out of the hat and our offense looks way better. So they had to do something. And obviously that was dipping into Russia and trying to find some wild card players that could hopefully add some offense to their group.
So Montreal, we already talked about Abby Rock. I think Montreal had the best offseason. I mean, they had a lot of, kind of similar to Toronto. They lost a lot of their young talent, Jen Gardner, Caleb Barnes, Anna Wilgren, Abby Bory, and the list kind of goes on. They also lost Mariah Keppel, who I think is an underrated loss, just blocks like a ton of shots, was really reliable on their back end. They lost her through free agency. She's with Seattle now. So, but I think that Danielle Sauvageau had a really good offseason in terms of really bolstering their center depth. Like, you look at, who can go out and take those draws. Like, we talked about Poulin, we talked about Abby Rock. They've got Cheyenne Darkangelo, they've got Jade Downey Landry. For my money, I've got Montreal as my top ranked team going into this season. What do you think?
Ooh, I feel like I like it. I feel like that's kind of spicy because Vancouver and Seattle just like cooked in the draft, but I really like Montreal this season. I'm a coward. I don't do preseason rankings because then nobody can come back and tell me them wrong. So I'm not going to dabble in that, but I will say that Montreal looks great. I think we need to acknowledge that Marie-Philippe Poulin and Renee Desbiens and Laura Stacey all signed extensions and restructured their deals to make less money this season to allow Danielle Sauvageau to go out and cook in free agency. Like, when she was signing all these deals, everyone's like, where is this cap space coming from? How is she doing this? They add Hailey Scamura, they add Cheyenne Darkangelo, they trade for Abby Rock, like, you add Jade Downey Landry. Like, they really beefed up this roster. They re-signed Katie Tabin, which I think was like one of the most understated and important moves that Montreal made this offseason. A lot of that was made available to Sauvageau because Poulin and Stacey and Desbiens kind of came together and said, like, we want to win. We want to do something to help Danielle get the player she wants, like, for this roster.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on who's going to fill that left wing spot beside Poulin. Obviously, Gardner has moved on. Yeah. Natalie Malinkova, question mark?
No, Abby Rock.
Abby Rock. Okay.
Don't overthink it.
Abby Rock on the wing.
Put her there.
Okay.
I want to see it. I need to see it. the only thing I care about in my life right now. We have seen struggles in the past putting like somebody who needs the puck on her stick to drive play, to shoot and score her own goals, like struggle on a line with Marie-Philippe Poulin. But as of right now, I feel like Rock on the Poulin-Stacey line is just chef's kiss. And I will not accept any other options at this time. Thank you.
Okay, you know what? Now I want to see this so badly. And also, like, an underrated part of Marie-Philippe Poulin's game is she's also really hard to play against and can also be really annoying,
they're going to
right?
be so brutal.
Yeah, like, I can't wait to see that. That's going to be fun. All right, so now we've got through the Canadian team. So, just quickly, let's talk about the American teams. Minnesota Frost give the back-to-back champs their flowers. For them, they honestly, it doesn't really matter what they do in the regular season as long as they get into the playoffs. It seems to be the trend for Minnesota. They're bringing back their veteran core. They managed to hang on to Elise Ekline, Kelly Panic, Kendall Coyne-Schofield. Of course, they've got Taylor Heisey coming back, and she looked unreal in the rivalry series. So I think she's going to have a really fun year. One of the best tandems in the league they were able to bring back, in Nicole Hensley and Maddie Rooney. The question for me, Hailey, for them is just on defense. Obviously, you've got Lee Steckline, one of the best defensive defenders in the league, but you're going to feel the loss of Claire Thompson and Sophie Jakes. And I think Melissa Channel-Watkins as well. She's someone who we don't really talk about as much, but they brought in Kendall Cooper, their first round draft pick. And then, of course, they brought in Sid Morin in free agency. But I just don't know if that really moves the needle a lot on defense for Minnesota. So that would be my question for them.
Yeah, I think the defense is the big question for the Frost. I mean, anytime you have Lee Steckline, like, you're going to be okay. And to your point, too, they have a great tandem. So you've got goalies who can probably, like, Band-Aid up any potential issues on the back end. To me, I just think their forward group is still so elite. Like, you lose Michaela Cava from the Heisey-Coyne combo that we saw a lot, but now we're probably going to see Heisey and Zemwinkle and like an Abby Hustler together. And Hustler's got a big shot. She's got good size. Like, those are three players that could realistically work well together. Kendall Coyne and Kelly Panic have like looked good together on the U.S. team when they've been put together. They were together at the rivalry series or World Championships last year. So like, I just look at Minnesota's core at the forward position. I'm like, they're gonna score a ton of goals again this season. Like, they will be able to outscore issues. They have goalies who can help Band-Aid that up. Like, I am not worried about the Minnesota Frost one bit.
Yeah. No, me either. And I think a bounce back year from Grace Zemwinkle. She was a little bit quieter offensively last year, but that could go a long way. And shout out to Abby Hustler, who is the very first player from Prince Edward Island ever drafted into the PWHL. I think that's pretty cool. Boston Fleet. This is a team that the last two seasons I had a little bit higher up, I think, in terms of how I thought they were going to perform. And it was one of those teams that kind of looked great on paper, and then it didn't really translate quite the way that I expected. Obviously, the biggest loss, they lose their captain, Hillary Knight. They've got a new captain in Megan Keller, but they're definitely going to miss her. They've got one of the best goaltenders in the world in Erin Frankel. And then they bring in Hailey Wynn, who, I think can take a little bit of the load off of Megan Keller. She brings some, intelligent play on the blue line. They also brought in Chloe O'Rard as a free agent, and we saw her, be absolutely dangerous alongside Alina Mueller at Northeastern University a few years ago. Can they kind of recreate that magic? But I think in Boston, like, that's the question for me again is offense. We've seen them have a lot of trouble scoring goals in the past, and taking Hillary Knight out of the equation, I don't think really helps that.
Yeah, they're going to need some players who have not been able to consistently produce at the PWHL level to take positive steps this season. And, we're talking about Jamie Lee Rattray, Jill Saulnier, Hannah Brandt. Like, there's a ton of veterans who are coming back at the forward position. But when we look at Rattray, Brandt, Shea Maloney, Teresa Schaffsel, Jill Saulnier, Lauren Gable, and Sophie Shirley, they all combined for 17 goals last season. That's just 2 more than Hillary Knight scored alone. So you're going to need more from those returning forwards. But like, you have Susanna Tapney, who's just going to pick up where she left off. Like, there are games that I watch, I'm like, she's the best player on the ice. Like, she she can impact the game in every situation. She's unbelievable. You still have her as your like 1A or 1B center. I would like to see Boston put Alina Mueller back up the middle so you can split those two up and have a bit more of like a 1A, 1B top two lines. And I'm not putting Chloe Ride with Alina Mueller. I'm sorry, I'm not. Don't listen to this if you're a Huskies fan. I'm putting Ella Huber there because that is a player who we know can just like go to town and play well off of like an elite dynamic talent. She has done it for a decade with Abby Murphy in Chicago with the Mission, at the University of Minnesota. Like, that is a player who knows where to go for a backdoor pass. She knows that the puck can get on her stick somehow after playing with Abby Murphy, who's just one of the most highly skilled players in women's hockey. And Alina Mueller is super smart too. So I actually feel like Alina Mueller, like they protect her over Hillary Knight, even over Hannah Bilka. This is going to be a big season for her. They need her to produce. And I think she will be able to do that with Ella Huber, either beside her on the wing if you kick her out to the side, or Huber up the middle and you keep Mueller on the wing. But I feel cautiously optimistic, but I've also been burned by the Boston Fleet in the past too. I've definitely said like they're so great and then they're fine. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've had the same experience.
Predictions. Don't ask me. I'm
I think anyone. With Alina Mueller too, like having a healthy season would go a long way for her. But yeah, that's really interesting. So no Chloe Arard beside her. All right, you heard it here first. Hailey Salvian hates the Northeastern Huskies.
I just feel like Hockey East is bad, you know? Yeah. WCHA all the way.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. New York.
That was a joke. Don't yell at me. Sorry. The New York Sirens.
The New York Sirens. We've got a player named Sarah Fillier. She's pretty good.
Never heard of her.
They've also got some intriguing rookies. We've got Casey O'Brien, Christina Kaltenkova. Casey O'Brien, obviously one of the most dominant players in NCAA history with the Wisconsin Badgers, Patty Kazmaier winner. You've got Christina Kaltenkova coming in, got a heck of a shot, and she's also someone who's not afraid to be physical, not afraid to throw a hit along the boards, and I think is finally in a league where she can really sort of use all of her physicality. For my money, I think it's going to be really interesting to see her play alongside Sarah Fillier. I think you throw them out together and she can insulate Fillier a little bit. They can kind of feed each other, similar to what we saw with with Alex Carpenter, who's gone. But the Sirens, they just look completely different from last season. We saw a lot of people go out the door. Obviously, Alex Carpenter, Jesse Eldridge, Corrine Schroeder, their number one goaltender. What do you think about the Sirens, Hailey?
I commend Pascal Daou for trying to shake things up after 2 seasons in the basement. I still think this team is going to struggle to consistently win games this season, and that's not because Sarah Fillier is not good enough. I think she is, on some nights, the second best player in the world, only because Marie-Philippe Poulin exists. On other nights, that's Alex Carpenter, who used to be her line mate and is now playing in Seattle. Like, I just think the losses are so great, and you have a lot of question marks. They're 1 or 2 players away still for me. So I think the Sirens are still going to struggle. I appreciate and respect that Pascal Daou was like, we've got to change it up. But like, this is very much a retooled roster, and retools very rarely take 1 year to figure out. So they might be fun. There's some great stuff to follow. Are they going to make the playoffs this year? I am saying no. You're making me make predictions, Karissa. I said I didn't want to do that. You didn't even ask me. I just offered it myself.
Get your crystal ball out.
It's my fault.
We're here for it. Yeah. I have them. So, for my money, I have them, not making the playoffs this year, but I think they are going to be an exciting team to watch. I think there are some options there. And you have to hand it to Pascal Daou for, pulling the trigger on some big deals. I remember when the Abby Rock, Kristen O'Neill trade was announced on the draft floor, there was like a gasp. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone was
an audible gasp.
Pearls. Yeah. It was crazy.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I think, the Ella Shelton trade, though, I do think they're going to miss Ella Shelton on the power play, her puck movement, and just everything that Ella Shelton brings.
Their blue line got worse, and so did their goaltending. with
Yeah.
respect.
It's
to the
going to be
players.
tough, but Sarah Fillier, she's always fun to watch. I think they're going to be like a fast, skilled team. I just don't know. I think question marks is a good way to put it. I don't really know what their bottom six looks like. I think they have some intriguing pieces, but I don't think the puzzle is complete, if I can use a metaphor there. So, of course, we have two new teams, the Seattle Torrent and the Vancouver Golden Eyes, starting their season on Friday. And yeah, I mean, a lot of fans were very upset. Fans of the original 6 teams were upset after the expansion draft process because they got, just a ton of talent. And it was designed to be that way. The point was they wanted these teams to be competitive off the bat. They've always wanted to have a competitive league where any team could win on any night. And I would say the PWHL has achieved that. But here's the question for you, Hailey. Do you think that we could see one of these teams win the Walter Cup in their very first season?
Yeah. I think that was the point. As you said, Karissa, like I remember talking to Stan Kasten about this, and he was like, if we're going to do this, if we're going to expand, these teams need to be able to compete. And I do kind of commend the league for saying that's their intention and actually doing it, because like these teams are stacked. We think of Seattle specifically, like their top line is Hillary Knight, Hannah Bilka, and Alex Carpenter. That is the top line for Team USA. Like this is a potential Olympic gold medal winning top line. And then in Vancouver, you have Sarah Nurse, you have Venisheva, you have Hannah Miller. Like there's just goal scorers up and down the lineup. So yeah, I think these teams can absolutely win. Again, great goaltending, great defense, poaching the top 3 defenders from the championship Frost from last year, including the entire pair of Sophie Jakes and Melissa Channel-Watkins. Claire Thompson's unbelievable. I would say that Vancouver looks the best on paper in the league for sure. The rules were by design, but like Cara Morey really like she looked at the rules, and like the way that she drafted was so interesting to me. Like she very clearly was taking like valuable quote unquote depth pieces. Denisa Kryzheva, Gabby Rosenthal. She wasn't taking like the big expensive stars in the expansion draft, and she left like a boatload of money to go and sign all of the big free agents off the board. So the way she built that team was super smart, and I think it's ultimately going to help them win a Walter Cup.
For Vancouver, I really wrestled with them and Montreal in terms of, who would be my top ranked team.
Yeah.
Vancouver, I don't really see any obvious holes.
Yeah.
Like compared to the other teams, there's really nothing I can quibble with. You've got a lot of players who can move up and down the lineup. I think potentially the best goaltending tandem in the league. And then looking at their blue line, like you talked about Claire Thompson, Melissa Channel-Watkins, Sophie Jakes, Ashton Bell, and Sydney Bard from like, it's an incredible blue line. I think the question for me is going to be, you're coming in and everything's new, and you have a new coach and you have new systems, and you have, you're building chemistry and things like that. And we saw in the first season of the PWHL that does take some time. I mean, I think there's just too much talent on both of these teams for them to not be in the Walter Cup playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And every other team's kind of in flux too. I know some teams kept their cores together, but there's a lot of players in and out. So everyone's going to be figuring it out in some way or another. It's just a little bit more exacerbated for Vancouver and Seattle.
One of the players we were talking about earlier, Hailey, Sarah Fillier, one of the players I'm most excited to see this season, had an incredible rookie year. I had the chance to talk to her a few weeks ago just about the season that's coming up, what's at stake for her, and also just about like one thing I really like about Sarah Fillier is just talking about what she wants to be. Like she really looks up to Marie-Philippe Poulin, and she's been open about kind of wanting to chase that greatness and kind of be that kind of player for Team Canada, to kind of be that player in the PWHL. So let's take a listen to what she had to say. All right, we've got Sarah Fillier here. Thanks so much for joining us, Sarah. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, so going into, your second PWHL season with a little bit of stability, you've got that 2-year contract under your belt. How does that affect your mentality going into this season?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was something I wanted to get locked down in the off season pretty early on, just to sign a contract, and it worked out well with New York and our GM and coaching staff there that we were going to agree on a 2-year deal. And I think for me, like it always excites me to be part of a program in a market that like I can be there and help build something really special. And New York is a special market, it's a special city. So excited to be back. I think we got some really great additions in the draft this year, a lot of young talent. Hopefully, my role can change a little bit too into more of kind of like a leadership, maybe like partial veteran. I don't know if that counts after one season, but yeah, it's just exciting to know that I have a home in New York for the next two, and hopefully build towards winning a championship.
For people out there, Sarah, who are wondering what can we expect for the New York Sirens, given, the departure of Abby Rock and Jesse Eldridge and Alex Carpenter, what would you say to those people? What should they expect from their team?
Yeah, I mean, we lost a lot of talent, a lot of scoring, a lot of leadership. But with the moves we made at the draft, I feel like we got some really great pickups of just some young, talented college players. And if you look at the NCAA right now, it's all skill based and super fast paced hockey, and I think that fits perfectly with my game. So hopefully I can work with some of our draft picks like Casey O'Brien and Koltikova and Andrzejkowski, and kind of have that super fast paced, skilled, kind of just buzzing around all game and wearing teams down mentality with New York.
And you talked about taking on more of a leadership role, going into your second season, a bit more of a veteran in the league now. How do you see yourself leading this team? Like, how would you like to lead, and what will your style be?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my leadership style is basically just like through my actions. I'm not like the loudest person in the room. I'm not gonna, give some big speech before games or anything, but I feel like I demonstrate through just like pure work ethic and always doing the right things. And I think I've really learned a lot about leadership these last couple years being on the national team, like watching Marie-Philippe Glenn be a leader, Blair Turnbull, Renata Fast, and those players. And I think it's just made me realize you can be yourself and still be a leader. You don't have to pretend to be something you're not. And I think maybe just building relationships with all these new players and helping them feel comfortable in New York, and hopefully leading by example will set the tone out there.
And you talked about one of those new players, Christina Kaltenkova, obviously the first overall pick for the Sirens in the last draft. And I'm guessing you're familiar with her a little bit from college. What do you expect from her, and how frightened should the other teams be when they're facing her along the boards?
Yeah, I mean, I was scared in college for a few years playing against her, so people should definitely, be shoulder checking when they're going into corners with her. She's a super physical presence, and I think what's so special about her game is she is going to play that physical style that the PW has really embraced, but she's going to score goals. I'm sure she's going to put up a lot of points in this league. She gets to, the hard areas around the net, and she's super heavy on her stick, and she has moments of really pure finesse. So she's kind of that all-around player, but loves to get under the skin of some star players. So I'm happy she's on my team for this year.
What's the biggest thing, Sarah, that you would say you've learned from Marie-Philippe Poulin?
Oh yeah, I think honestly it's just like her mentality about everything, her mindset, for her drive about being the best in the world. She's coming onto her what could be her fifth Olympics, and someone hasn't done that in a really long time. Go to five Olympics, and just the desire she has to be the best in the world. Even though I think it's pretty fair to say she's the best to ever play the game. In her mind, she's always striving for more, pushing for more, and it's really cool because she wants to bring everyone with her. It's not a solo trip to be the best. She wants to, collectively as a group get there, and at the end of the day, that's winning a gold medal, and you can see that's what's really driving her is to bring everyone with her to greatness.
We know that you've been at Olympic training camp, a couple of different Olympic training camps, excuse me, Sarah, this summer. We know you've been in the gym working on your explosiveness. but I also understand that you had a sourdough starter going and may have even made a field trip to the gym with you. So can we just get a wellness check on your sourdough starter? How is it doing? Is it still kicking?
Oh, she's healthy and thriving. Yeah, she did make it to the gym. I didn't realize when I got into the whole sourdough process that it was really finicky, and I was going away on the weekend and I couldn't leave her in the car. It was too hot during the summer, so I brought it into the gym to make sure that she stayed alive. And I've made a ton of loaves. And I actually, when I moved into New Jersey last weekend, I brought the starter down, and then I have her in the fridge. So I'll be making some bread for the Sirens hopefully all year.
Okay, so she's a cross-border sourdough starter.
Yeah,
Good
she's
for her.
international. Yeah.
Do you talk? I mean, I've heard of people talking to plants to help them grow. Do you talk to your sourdough starter? Is that a thing?
Uh, I mean, I've heard the whole like positive affirmation thing with rice. I don't know if you've heard about that, but um, I haven't. But maybe I should, and it would make my bread a little bit better. But she's doing fine right now without the affirmation, so we'll see.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it. Well, wishing you a lot of success on the ice this season, Sarah, and lots of great bread too.
Awesome, thanks so much.
So that was Sarah Fillier talking about the upcoming season. And yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to see her, but I think she's also, in my mind, I think this season is going to be an interesting look at sort of the future of Team Canada, that sort of passing of the torch from Poulin over to Fillier. And, you know, that player from 2030 and beyond who is kind of leading this team, maybe a future Team Canada captain someday. What specifically are you most excited about with Fillier this season?
I'm excited to see her be the face of the franchise and kind of work through the adjustment. I think it's different being the like superstar rookie, because like there's always been expectations on Sarah Fillier, and she's always been able to meet them or exceed them. What she did last season, like, set a new bar for players coming into the league. Just co-lead in scoring, the way that she tied for scoring with Hilary Knight. But I think now there's an adjustment this year. Like, you are the veteran, like, you are the nucleus of this core. And how is she going to adjust to that? How is she going to adjust to being the face of the franchise, like, unequivocally now? If there's a 9-game losing streak again this season, like, can she make sure that doesn't happen again? Like, can she score the game-winning goal? Can she stop the bleeding? Like, those are little adjustments or pieces that I would like to see from Sarah Fillier this year. And I think she would say the same thing, is just continuing to get better, continuing to dominate in this league in different ways. Obviously productive last season, but they missed the playoffs. They had that huge losing streak. Can she be the person who can stop it? Poulin does it. She scores the game-winning goal to stop the 3-game losing streak, or whatever it may be. Can Sarah Fillier start to be that player in the PWHL is what I'm looking for.
And it all kicks off on Friday. So we've got a PWHL doubleheader, the puck dropping on the third PWHL season, starting with the Toronto Sceptres and Minnesota Frost, Walter Cup playoffs rematch at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then we're going to see, followed by Vancouver Golden Knights hosting the very first game against the Seattle Torrent inside Pacific Coliseum. We're going to be there. So we'll have lots to talk about next week from what we've gathered, learned, gleaned in Vancouver, and that starts at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. So it's going to be fun.
I'm excited. Wow, I'll see you there.
I'll see you there. I'll see you there with my rain jacket on. That'll be fun.
Ooh, I didn't pack one.
Oh, get an umbrella,
I packed
Hailey.
very strangely for this trip. We'll see how it goes.
Well, you can stand under my umbrella. It's fine.
Thank you.
All right. This is where you're going to find us every week from now until the Olympics. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for hopping on, Hailey, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.